I'm back for another Tea with Tea. I got a better surrounding, so forgive my background noise, but it was just so nice today, and there's a cloud cover coming now because I had a few mishaps with trying to film outside. The bees are trying to attack me, so I had to go get one of these citronella candles, which is working pretty well, hopefully. I've seen one around here, so I've heard they smell fear, so I can't act like I'm afraid, right? Anyway, I'm rambling. Tea's back. Tea with Tea. Today we're going to talk about small business structures, and this was my next requested video that you guys said you wanted to see, so I'm bringing it to you now. Our tea of choice today is yogi tea, and I did a blend because I wanted the honey lavender stress relief tea, but it doesn't have any caffeine in it, and I need a little pick-me-up for the gym later on, so I blended it with raspberry passion perfect energy yogi tea. If you guys haven't had yogi tea, you're missing out on some of the best bag brew tea I've ever had. All of their leaves that they use are organic, and they just taste so good. There's so much flavor in their teas, and I did put some raw honey in here, which is why the bees are trying to freaking attack me today. Which I usually try to add a tablespoon of raw honey to my tea because of the health properties of it. But you don't need any sweetener with these teas. They're amazing. Try out yogi teas. This honey lavender stress relief is one of my favorites. So is the raspberry passion perfect energy. These two together brewed a perfect cup of tea. It's so amazing, and I love that they had their little affirmations on it. So mine today says, "You are unlimited, and trust creates peace," which, you know, their affirmations kind of just sit you in a tea state of mind. So pick up at the honey lavender and the raspberry passion energy. It's amazing, guys. I love it. So you want to start a small business, and you can't quite write a business plan without figuring out what the structure of your business is going to be. So I'm going to break down the most common structures and try to make this as simplistic as possible. It can get technical. First, I would like to say, when it comes to the tax portion of each structure, that is what's going to determine which structure you're going to choose. So definitely, if you're trying to start a small business, consult a CPA or tax consultant. So consult someone who is going to be able to explain to you, especially if you get into the more technical structures like corporations and things like that. You're going to want to consult a CPA. For the most part, most of my people I know are starting sole proprietorships, and that's what we're going to start with first. Sole proprietorship means sole owner and sole responsibility. So if you do decide to open up a sole proprietorship, just know that you are going to be responsible for any liabilities of the business. Your personal assets can be attacked if you were sued. But sole proprietorships are very easy and inexpensive to form. With sole proprietorships, all you need to do is file a fictitious business name statement, and you should be in there like swimwear. Alright guys, so we're talking about sole proprietorships, and I had to move like 8 million times because these bees, and I think it's just one bee that keeps terrorizing me. And so now I'm under the trees more, and so you're probably going to hear more wind. Sorry about that. Now, a fictitious business name statement is just a form that states the name of your business if the business does not have your last name in it. So you only need a fictitious business name statement to be filed if the business does not have your last name. So I can start a business with Taylor's Cookies, just using my social security number, open a business account with a bank, and I can start doing business if my state doesn't require any other business licenses. Now, if you want to name your business something creative, like Creative Cookies, then you need to go and file a fictitious business name statement, and those usually don't cost a lot. I remember in Georgia when I worked there, I think they were only about 25, 35 bucks, something like that. So they usually don't cost a lot, and you usually go down to your county recorder's office, which is the county you'll be doing business in, the county office there, and where you go and file your marriage licenses and stuff like that. That is where you go to file your fictitious business name statement. That is most states. That was California and Georgia. Don't quote me on that with your state. Always go to your Secretary of State website and check what are your requirements for opening a business per your state, because things vary. So that should be it for sole proprietorships. Fictitious business name statement. You can use your social security number. The advantages are they are very inexpensive to start up. They're very minimal paperwork. The disadvantages is it's sole liability. So if you're going to be doing something like providing food, opening a restaurant, you don't want to open a sole proprietorship. You want to move on to the more complex business structures, and that would probably be LLC or corporation, but we'll get into that later. Hey guys, change of scenery. The bees will not let me be great where I was, so hopefully this will work a little bit better. So the first structure we talked about was sole proprietorship. We're going to get into LLCs. LLCs being limited liability company, and those get a little bit more technical, and everything else gets a little bit more technical after sole proprietorships. If you want to have a little bit more of a safe hold over your own personal assets, then you want to probably look into opening an LLC. Now LLCs, they have managers and they have members, and the members can be the managers of the business. That's something you're going to state in your operating agreement, which we'll talk about soon. LLCs can have single members. Most states require multiple members. If it's a single member LLC, you can elect to use your social security number and be taxed as a sole proprietorship with your personal taxes. That's something you want to talk to your CPA about again and see what's going to be the best tax structure for your business. EIN is required for 2 or more members for your LLC, and those are usually taxed as corporations. Tax advisors. And I actually told myself I was going to get this business for taxes for business book and start reading it for you guys so that I can kind of bring you a little bit of knowledge on business taxes. And it's something that I should know too. So I'm going to do some research on business taxes, and I can give you guys a little bit of a gist of what I'm getting from the book. Now, I am not a tax advisor, which is why I keep saying go and talk to a tax consultant or a CPA, someone who is certified to talk to you about taxes, because I don't really keep up with much of the business taxes, not yet at least. I usually keep up with personal stuff, and I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 3 years, so I haven't really had to file taxes, so it's been great for me. But since I am getting to businesses and things like that, I'll do some research for you guys, and I'll get that book because I saw a really great book that I should be reading, and I'll give you guys a little bit more information on business taxes. LLCs is to appoint a registered agent, and a registered agent is the person for the LLC, and any corporation needs to have a registered agent. Now, a registered agent is someone who accepts paperwork for the business. If someone sues your business, the registered agent is the person who receives that particular paperwork. And usually registered agents for corporations is someone who is invested in the corporation, or a lawyer. Your registered agent can definitely be a lawyer. If you have a lawyer, that's who you want your registered agent to be, of course. LLCs need operating agreements. Now, for operating purposes only, the operating agreement is not required to be filed with your legal paperwork for your state and things, but an operating agreement is what you're going to want to have amongst your members and your managers, and it's just you holding a meeting with your members and your managers and your investors, and you sit down and you say who is what percentage of ownership of the business, what are their roles, what is operating agreements, the rights and responsibilities of those people, rules on meetings and business operations, on business meetings and business operations. So your operating agreement is just what it says. It is an agreement for the business and how it's going to be operated. Operating agreements also tell how profits and losses are going to be allocated amongst the members and the managers. Forms that you need that are required to be filed for an LLC are the Articles of Organization. And the Articles of Organization is basically what it says is how the LLC is organized. So it's going to have the name, the business address, the nature of the business. That's telling, and who are the members and who are the managers. So that's telling the state what your LLC does and how it's going to be organized, and that is required with a filing fee by your state. Check your Secretary of State website or your county recorder's website, and that'll tell you exactly what those particular fees are and what the Articles of Organization or requirements are for your state. So definitely Articles of Organization are needed. The advantages of LLCs are the limited liability for your personal assets. It gives you a little bit more of a safe hold. Now, limited means if you have a member who is a manager and they have a sexual harassment case against them, that particular member or manager can be, their personal assets can be attacked. So that's what the limited means. The corporation is liable for any business debts, any investment debts and things like that, or any debts that are based on that are occurred because of that LLC. but there is a limited liability. So there are some loopholes where your personal assets can be attacked with the LLC. And so with corporations. Corporations, if a actual investor is involved in some type of legal mix-up and then the business just so happens to be involved, the business can be sued and so can that person. It just depends on your state and their requirements and those things. So just beware of that. Limited liability does not give you a whole lot of protection over your assets, and neither does incorporating. All right, guys, let's start partnerships. Now, partnerships are single businesses that are owned by 2 or more owners. There are 3 different types of partnerships. There's a general partnership, a limited partnership, and joint ventures. General partnerships are profits, liabilities, management duties. Everything is equally shared by each partner. So it's a 50-50 split right down the middle. Limited partnerships get a little bit more complex. They are generally more for short-term projects or investors, so that they can only have about 10% of the ownership, depending on how much money they put into. Limited partnerships are for people who don't want to really be that hands-on with the business. They just want to kind of invest in the business. And joint ventures are almost like general partnerships, but they're only for single projects. Joint venture could be for someone who is working on music and they just want to be a joint venture on that particular song or that particular album, things like that. Partnerships can use an EIN, an employee identification number issued by the IRS, or they can use one of the partner's social security numbers as the tax ID for the business. Now, with general partnerships, all partners are personally liable for any business debts and any business happening. So if, one partner gets sued, the other partner can get sued as well. That's why I always say make sure you know who you're going into business with. So limited partnerships gives limited personal liability, and that's where you want to go ahead and get an EIN when you want to have a limited partnerships. The forms required for partnerships are fictitious business name statement. Again, if one of the partners, general partners, last name is not, if both of the partners' last name is not in the business name, then you need to file a fictitious business name statement. And a partnership agreement. Now, a partnership agreement is not necessarily required to be filed by your state or your county. However, partnership agreements are something that's going to make your partnership legit, and it kind of lays down the outlines and the requirements and the expectations between both partners. It tells the amount of ownership each partner has. So you want to definitely write out a partnership agreement if you're going into business with anyone. Always have legal contracts. I just learned that the hard way. So definitely, if you're going to go into business with someone, always have a formal written agreement. That way you won't have any, if you have to go into some type of legal situation, then you have a piece of paper that stated you signed this person signed that on that date, and these were the expectations, or this is what the terms were. So definitely always have a general partnership agreement, or a partnership agreement, not general, but always have a partnership agreement. Advantages of partnerships are they are easy, inexpensive, and shared financial commitment. They are for teamwork, so if you're a great team player, partnerships are generally what you want to look into structuring or using for your business structure. Disadvantage is the joint liability. So you got to make sure if you're going to have a partner that it's a reliable person. Like, I can't stress that enough. Going into business with friends and then they back out a year or so and you have to dissolve that whole partnership agreement and that business. There can be disagreement between people, shared profits could be a problem, all of that particular types of things. So make sure that you are very serious and your partner is very serious before you go into a partnership agreement with someone, because it can really get nasty and it can really get technical. Last but not least are corporations. Yay! Now, corporations are the most complex and the most expensive to form. Corporations take a little bit of a while to form as well. So if you're just trying to start a small business, corporations are not going to be for you. This is for people who plan on expanding and making some revenues and having some employees and having some real good investors and needing loans. Corporations, you're going to want to look into. Corporations are legal entities that are owned by their shareholders. So that means it's owned by the investors, not necessarily by the manager. Corporations has its own tax ID, as well as the corporation is solely liable for any business mishaps. So form a corporation, you're going to need to register your business name with your Secretary of State. That business name cannot be used. You're going to have corp or INC behind it, depending on your state laws. You're going to have a doing business as a fictitious business name for a corporation, articles of incorporation that's going to tell who your CEOs are, who your financial officers are, things like that. You're going to have to set your board of directors. You're going to have to hold yearly meetings or annual meetings or biannual, depending on your fiscal year for your corporation. And you're going to have to set the roles. You're going to have to set clear roles on for your shareholders, for your employees, for the CEOs, all of that stuff. Corporations get very technical. Advantages of corporations, so, is their limited shareholder responsibility. So the business is responsible for any legal happenings. That means if the business gets sued, your personal assets are yours and are protected. You can raise and generate capital through stock with corporations, which is really amazing, because then you can grow your business with investors from banks or separate investors, out in the world that may want to come in and, help you with your business finances. Corporation tax treatments, they file separately from their owners. That's a very big advantage, because your personal income taxes are your personal income taxes. Corporations are more attractive to consumers as well. People kind of feel a little bit more safe when businesses are incorporated. That's because they know they could sue the business, especially if it's a really good business. So those are a few advantages of corporations. Disadvantages are they're really expensive to form and operate. Double taxation for corporations. You get taxed for your corporate business, you get taxed on your personal income. And then there's more paperwork for corporations. It's just a very, very technical business structure. So again, I had a lot of business customer clients who were corporations, but those were big money businesses. There are two different types of corps as well. There's a C Corp, that's a regular corporation, and the difference between the C Corp and the S Corp, and there's S Corps, of course. The difference between the two is the type of taxation. C Corps are taxed by using subchapter C of the IRS code tax, and S Corps avoids the double taxations that the C Corps have. But you gotta consult your CPA to figure out which type of corporation you're gonna wanna form. Most likely it's going to be a C Corp. S Corps are normally nonprofits and things like that. So forms that are required for corporations and articles of incorporations. Now those are the ones that are gonna be filed with your state. Those also vary by state, and that just pretty much tells what the corporation is, where it's located, the name of the corporation, the business of the corporation, who are the board of directors, so who are your board members, who is your CEO, your chief financial officer, your secretary, your treasurer, those particular people. Who are those people? Articles of incorporation are filed with your state, and those require a fee, and those fees vary by state. So again, Secretary of State website, especially if you're going to be forming a corporation, you need to visit your Secretary of State website. Corporate bylaws are the basic rules of the corporation. You're going to make those up with your other investors, and how the corporation is going to be handled, how corporate business is going to be handled, what are the rules, what are the laws, what are the operations of the business. That's going to be stated in your corporate bylaws. Your stock certificates for corporations should be issued. You'll know how that stuff goes. You'll know what you're going to issue and things like that when you're going into opening a corporation. Annual shareholders meetings need to be had with corporations, so you need to hold meetings with your investors and talk about the businesses and the finances and all of those particular things. Again, if you're going to be opening a corporation, these are going to be common practices. These are going to be common things. I'm just kind of spewing this stuff out. And you got to have corporate income tax filing. Of course, CPA, tax advisor, see those people, have those people. Important resources to remember are their Secretary of State website, your county recorder's office, the SBA.gov, and the IRS.gov. Visit those places. Also have another website I just discovered, NOLO.com, and NOLO, it just tells you business laws and business practices. So it's a really good resource that I've been using to kind of get this information and make sure I'm giving you guys applicable information and the correct information. I am the research queen, so I will do all the research I need to do to kind of keep myself abreast. We're always learning. So. All right, y'all, this has been such an adventure filming in this park with all of these bees around here. I hope this video has helped you kind of give you a clear example of what each business structure is. It's a lot of information. If you guys are thinking of starting a business and you want my advice, feel free to email me, put my email address in the link, tweet me, comment down below, and I can kind of give you some type of direction on which one you should be looking at starting based on the type of business you're going to be starting. Comment, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any more questions or concerns, and if you need any more help, I'm always here. willing to help you. Thanks for watching. T with T. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing. These bees won't let me be great. Structure you want to form. Email me with the type of business that. Yeah, Mom. Oh, I called you. Engage will be able to educate you on file. And that, other than your individual business licenses that you need for your business, the type of business. Do you guys see this freaking bee on my freaking cup? He is like terrorizing me. Oh my goodness.